Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm not a financial expert. I'm just an ordinary person who has changed her life through financial management. I'm here to share replicable ideas for making money, saving money, and getting rich. Today, I want to talk about something incredibly important to me, my financial journey, specifically the parts where I stumbled, fell, and learned some very expensive lessons. This isn't a story of success from the start. Instead, it is a candid look at the many ways I mismanaged my money, especially during my early 20s. I'm here to lay bare my mistakes, hoping that by sharing my blunders, I can help you navigate your own financial path with more wisdom and fewer regrets. I'm not here to pretend I'm an expert or a financial guru. I'm just someone who has been through the ringer, financially speaking, and wants to share the hard-earned wisdom so others don't have to endure the same pain. When I was first starting out, fresh out of college, I had a burning desire to fast, track my financial growth, coming from a background where money was always tight. The idea of quickly accumulating wealth was immensely appealing. I saw my peers, or at least perceived my peers, making what appeared to be effortless gains in various investment avenues, and I was eager to join in. The problem was, I lacked any real financial education or understanding of how markets truly worked. All I had was an intense longing for financial freedom and a readiness to dive headfirst into anything that promised rapid returns. This combination, enthusiasm without knowledge, proved to be a recipe for disaster. I remember the exhilarating feeling of hitting buy, imagining a future where I was financially independent, only to be met with harsh reality shortly after. My initial approach to investing was chaotic, driven primarily by online chatter, social media trends, and tips from friends who were just as clueless as I was. If an asset was being hyped, I was all in. I chased after every shiny new opportunity, convinced that the crowd couldn't be wrong. This often meant buying into assets at their absolute peak, only to watch them plummet shortly after. The fear of missing out, FOMO, was a powerful and destructive force in my decision-making. It pushed me into impulsive, ill-informed trades that consistently ended in losses. I was constantly glued to my phone, refreshing my portfolio, experiencing wild swings between elation and despair. It was an emotional roller coaster that left me feeling drained and poorer. A significant portion of my early losses came from short-term trading. I was fascinated by the idea of day trading, believing I could make a living by anticipating market movements and making quick profits. This involved hours spent in front of charts, trying to decode patterns that were often random, and executing trades with a palpable sense of anxiety. The relentless pressure, the constant need to react to fleeting market signals, was exhausting, and more often than not, my predictions were wrong, leading to consistent losses. Even when I did make a small profit, the transaction fees and the sheer mental effort often negated any real gains. It was a stressful, unsustainable, and ultimately a very unprofitable endeavor. Then there were the investment scams. These were particularly insidious, preying on my eagerness and my lack of discernment. I encountered schemes that promised unbelievably high returns with no risk, often cloaked in complex jargon and presented by charismatic individuals. I recall one instance where I invested a substantial sum into a project that claimed to use revolutionary technology for guaranteed daily profits. I was so convinced by their slick presentation and persuasive language that I ignored all the red flags. Predictably, the entire operation vanished, taking my money with it. The feeling of being duped, of having my trust violated, was incredibly painful. It taught me a harsh lesson about skepticism and the importance of due diligence, reinforcing the old adage, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Another monumental error was my complete disregard for risk management. I frequently engaged in concentrated betting, pouring large sums of money into single investments, sometimes even using borrowed money to amplify my potential returns. Diversification was a concept I either didn't understand or chose to ignore. I put all my eggs in one basket, convinced that my chosen investment would be the one to make me rich. When these investments inevitably failed, the financial impact was catastrophic. I vividly remember the sleepless nights, the gnawing anxiety in my stomach, and the profound sense of regret. The lack of a financial safety net, the absence of any protective measures, meant that every market dip felt like a personal crisis, pushing me closer to the brink of financial ruin. My emotions were, without a doubt, the primary driver of my poor financial decisions. I would make investment choices based on euphoria during bull markets, only to panic and sell during downturns, locking in significant losses. This pattern of buying high and selling low was a direct consequence of letting my feelings, rather than a well-thought strategy, dictate my actions. It was a cycle of impulsive behavior driven by greed when the market was up and overwhelming fear when it was down. This emotional trading not only depleted my capital but also took a severe toll on my mental well-being, creating a constant state of stress and regret. The wake-up call came after suffering a particularly brutal loss that decimated a large portion of my accumulated savings. It was a moment of profound clarity, A painful but necessary realization that my approach to money and investing was utterly broken. I saw my years of hard work evaporate, and I knew, with absolute certainty, that a fundamental change was imperative. This wasn't just about recouping my losses. It was about reclaiming control of my financial future, my peace of mind, and my overall happiness. The dream of instant wealth had led me down a dark path, and it was time to find a new, more sustainable way. I committed myself to a rigorous process of financial education. I delved into books on personal finance, investment strategies, and economic history. I sought out reputable financial educators, distinguishing their sound advice from the noise of market manipulators. I learned about the true power of compounding, the indispensable role of diversification, the wisdom of long-term investing, and the necessity of aligning investments with personal financial goals and risk tolerance. It was a slow, deliberate process, but it laid the foundation for a completely new approach to managing my money. I realized that sustainable wealth building is a marathon, not a sprint, requiring discipline, patience, and a deep understanding of one's own financial landscape. My current financial philosophy stands in stark contrast to my past impulsive behavior. I now prioritize building a solid emergency fund, adhering to a disciplined budget, and investing primarily in broad market low-cost index funds or ETFs. My focus is entirely on achieving steady, consistent growth over the long term, rather than chasing speculative, short-lived gains. I've come to accept market fluctuations as a normal part of the investment landscape, no longer allowing them to trigger panic. Instead, I view market downturns as opportunities to invest more at lower prices, a strategy that would have been completely alien to my former self. This calmer, more rational approach has brought an incredible sense of stability and control to my financial life. This channel is my attempt to share these hard-earned lessons, particularly with young adults who might be just starting their financial journey or are struggling with similar investment pitfalls. I want to demystify personal finance, expose common investment myths, and offer practical, actionable advice rooted in my own painful experiences. My aim is not to recommend specific investments, as that path proved disastrous for me. Instead, I want to equip you with the foundational knowledge, the critical thinking skills, and the mindset necessary to make informed financial decisions, helping you avoid the costly mistakes I made. It is about empowering you to build a secure financial future, not by chasing illusions, but by laying down solid, reliable groundwork. We'll cover essential topics such as creating a realistic budget, understanding the importance of an emergency fund, exploring different investment vehicles like mutual funds and bonds, the golden rule of diversification, and crucially, how to identify and protect yourself from financial scams. I'll share detailed accounts of my past financial blunders, dissecting the psychological traps, the flawed reasoning, and the precise moment when I realized I was heading down the wrong path. My profound hope is that by openly sharing these missteps, I can provide a roadmap for you to avoid similar financial pain and stress. This journey is about mutual learning and growth, not about judgment. I firmly believe that financial literacy is an indispensable life skill, one that is often overlooked in traditional educational settings. I had to learn these lessons through the expensive school of hard knocks, but you don't have to. This channel is designed to be the resource I desperately wished I had when I was starting out. A guide to help you navigate the often confusing world of personal finance with greater confidence and clarity. We'll discuss fostering a healthy relationship with money, understanding the behavioral biases that impact financial choices, and cultivating a long-term perspective that prioritizes sustainable wealth building over fleeting speculative gains. It is about setting yourself up for a stable and prosperous future, one informed decision at a time. It is vital to remember that I am not a financial advisor, and the information presented here is based on my personal experiences and extensive self-study. It should not be considered professional financial advice. Always conduct your own thorough research, and if necessary, consult with a qualified financial professional before making any significant financial decisions. My primary goal is to share my story, offer genuine insights, and hopefully inspire you to take a proactive and responsible approach to your own financial planning. It is about building a community where we can openly discuss money matters, learn from each other's journeys, and collectively strive for greater financial well-being. So, if you're in your 20s, or any age for that matter, and you're looking for an honest account of financial pitfalls and the lessons learned, then I invite you to subscribe and join me on this channel. Let's learn from my past missteps, cultivate sensible financial habits, and work towards building a more secure and prosperous future. Together, it's a journey that demands patience and continuous learning, but the peace of mind that comes with financial stability is truly invaluable. I am excited to share more with you and to hear about your own experiences as we navigate this essential aspect of life.